Hey, we are Team InfoBiz for Dummies, and this is our final project. So for our final project, we wanted to analyze video game sales and see what the various trends were in those over time and based on generation and by genre and a couple other things. And so I'm going to walk you through that. So when we were designing our project, the target group of like users for our project was those that enjoyed playing video games. So you didn't have to be an expert; you just had to have a casual interest in video games. And one of the things we thought would be cool to see is what people call the console wars. So the various trends in game sales over the various generations of consoles between Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. So I'm going to go through our three questions, three user questions. The first one, number one, is there a difference in popularity of genres with respect to console era changes or within the same console era? And so basically what that means is, if you look at our first screen, we have mapped out each genre of game, and the radius of these circles, the area, translates to the amount of sales per year per console in that genre. And so we want to see if there are any trends in certain genres, which ones are more prevalent in which times, and which ones kind of died off or went in trends. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of our filters here. You can click off by console or by manufacturer. So I'm going to go ahead and click off Microsoft and PlayStation and just look at Nintendo. So if you look at Nintendo, theirs is very spacious. They make a lot of wide variety of games. If you look at their sports section though, pretty low for GameCube, and all of a sudden it got huge for the Wii. And so when analyzing this data, our team kind of figured out it was probably because of Wii Sports and its subsequent sequel here, Wii Sports Resort. And another cool thing with our viz, if you click on any of these circles, you can kind of see this bar chart on the side that breaks down the sales by region. So real quick for this question again, click off Nintendo and PlayStation, look at Microsoft, and kind of the same thing, except you see some trends more in genre here. So their platforming never was really big. For shooters, it was not huge. And then with the Xbox 360, when first-person shooters kind of got big, Xbox kind of, delved into that market. And kind of similar with PlayStation. PlayStation, sort of like Nintendo, has not only been in a lot of different areas and genres, but they also sold consistently over time. So our second question is, do games perform consistently over their particular console era? So the idea of this is to see if a particular console sold games better than others. And so we can use the same filters to look at this. So looking at Microsoft, for example, you can kind of see that the areas of the circles are much bigger for the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One, but mainly the Xbox 360, much smaller for the Xbox and the Xbox One. So sales are much bigger for the 360, and they're pretty consistent over its entire generation. If you look at Nintendo, you see the same thing. The middle generation was the highest selling. The Wii sold much higher than the Wii and the GameCube. And for PlayStation, it was pretty consistent all the way through actually. So there wasn't one generation that really stood out. They all kind of sold well. The PS3 sort of saw a dip down, but for the most part they were consistent. Now our third question is, do higher average user or critic scores for consoles games translate to higher game sales? So we can use some of our filters here, and this actually changes the y-axis. So the years and the x-axis stay the same, but it tells you what the user score is here per year, per like an average of all the user scores for the games for that year. So it looks like the games for the PlayStation 2 had pretty high user scores, but then they all started to dip and average out around 7 during the second and third generations, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. If you look at Nintendo and Microsoft, I believe they both followed similar patterns for this. So we're not really sure why that is. Maybe users just got pickier or used to better games. And then if you go to critic scores, you see a slightly different trend. Critic scores seem to be around the same place during the first generation, but they kind of stay the same for Xbox. They sort of wavered for PlayStation, up and down, but for Nintendo, they severely dipped for the Wii. But the Wii also had the highest sales of all the Nintendo consoles, even though it had the lowest critic score. And then if you go into the third generation, it seems all the critic scores went up for all consoles. So that is our info viz. Hope you enjoyed.